And good evening. Even though it's not evening, whenever you're watching this, you can watch this whenever you want to. I'm Rick Dancer. It is so nice to be here with you. Um, we have a really interesting story tonight. There's podcasts that have all these people from, they've got PhDs and all this kind of stuff in their records. And that's all great and fine. I listen to some of those, but I long to hear just from people like you and me. And I think that's what Get Real with Rick Dancer is, and we try to focus on. And so when I find somebody interesting, I worked in television news for like 30 years. So I'm pretty good at reading people, and I can smell a good story when I smell one. And when the gentleman you're going to listen to today, we're talking about fitness. We're going to talk about much more than that, though, about life. And I think you're going to really enjoy this. And we couldn't do this without people like Michael Bradley Dental in Eugene and Springfield. If you're looking for a dentist who cares about your civil liberties, your right to freedom, your ability to speak out, he's your guy. And he's a hell of a dentist. I like him so much. I just went back 2 weeks ago to Oregon, and I make my appointments for my cleanings and my checkups when I'm in Oregon. Because yes, there are good dentists here in Montana, but he's my friend. I like him. I trust him. He knows. This sounds kind of weird, but he knows my mouth. And they have good people in there. Also sponsoring our show, right here in Helena, Greg Hinkle with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. He's a lender, and he's really good at what he does. One of his specialties is if you're in a divorce. I know nobody wants to talk about that, but it happens. There's a lot of little rules that you need to know before you start settling your divorce about what goes on and what you can and can't do in terms of getting a loan. So he's a guy you probably should talk with. Also, right here in Helena, Montana, also in Bozeman, also in Great Falls, and also in Butte is Montana Oral Surgeons and Implant Center. If you're looking for, you got teeth that are missing, things that are going wrong, they'll do implants. They also do, just basic extractions, everything, that I can't say the word, but when they redesign your face after people have been in an accident, one of the dentists or the doctors there was telling me that one of the things she used to do a lot was work with people that had been attacked by grizzly bears, and she'd restore their face. That's pretty amazing. So anyway, Montana Oral Surgeons. And in Eugene, Springfield, we have Matt with New Leaf Hyperbarics and Wellness Center. Matt McCarl, they do massage, they do hyperbarics. If you've never done that before, you need to try it. If you tell him you saw it on Rick Dancer's show, he'll give you a deal the first time. They also do light therapy, red light, blue light, white light, all of it. And Rain's Heating and Air Conditioning right out of Cresswell, Oregon. They just love what we do, and they do great stuff. If you're looking for get your maintenance system stuff checked up, that's what you need to do. He's the guy to call. And our last sponsor, Albert Taylor, Endless Possibilities, working with people in the communities with different abilities. We used to call them disabilities, but realized that, we all have our disabilities, and these are folks who want to live a normal life. They're always looking for people to go in and help them do that. Okay, I love your title here. So this is James Cowan and the Tatted Fitness Junkie. And we met on TikTok or Instagram, one of the two. We were talking, what I'm going to do, because the way our cameras are set, I'm going to put me there. Now it looks like we're looking at each other. It's a little bit better there. So, and then James and I started talking. I brought him on the show. It was TikTok, because then I brought you on the live show.
Instagram.
Was it Instagram? Okay, because I don't do Instagrams very much. So it was one of those weird days I was doing it just to see what was out there. And you came on, and I thought, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I also I smell a good story here. So tell me, go to the place. You already know when you start with someone, where do you tell people about your life?
I have a passion for this, which a lot of people don't anymore. I got some extremely
passion. What do you mean when you say a passion? You think there's a lot of people out there just doing fitness stuff to do fitness stuff, and you really know it changes people's lives.
Exactly. There's a lot of people who do it for the vanity reason. The TikToks, the IG models, and all this other stuff get the sponsorships, but it's not actually what they're passionate about. They look at it as a way to make money and revenue versus changing somebody's core self and realizing that it's not always about the physique part of it, which is a nice aspect. But when you can change somebody's mental state about fitness, you can unlock their passion for it too, and they can go on and it spreads like a wildfire.
So if you understand that, then that had to happen for you. So what happened? What was your life like?
So we're gonna go back a little bit. I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. Was diagnosed with PTSD in 2008, and at one point was on 17 different medications from the VA. I had a shoulder surgery in 2018. Walked out of the VA with Dilaudid and morphine in the same bag. So I had a very bad pill addiction for about 11 years.
Wow,
Um,
James.
and then the my significant other at that time had enough, and I ended up homeless, and it was just not a good thing. So in 2019, I went to FitCon down in Salt Lake City, and I've always been involved with fitness. I've been a personal trainer for almost 15 years, but I wasn't a personal trainer with a purpose. And there's a difference. That purpose is what changed everything for me. So I've been clean off of pills for almost 6 years now.
Wow.
And I've actually been able to maintain and improve my own physical well-being, mental health, emotional, spiritual, everything. So I don't do just a simple physical approach, because a lot of the times I'll get paid clients who are dealing with anxiety and mental health issues more so than they are physical issues. So, and like I said, taking that love of fitness and what it's done for me and applying it to them. And I use the gym, my training myself to treat my PTSD, my anxiety, my panic disorders. So it's not always about the physical part.
Right, because I mean, you and I would probably laugh. There's people at the gym. It just cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're going up and they're pulling their shirt up and checking out their 8-pack and all that stuff, and you're going, I think that's the image of fitness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it really, it's what I love seeing is today at Capitol in Helena. This woman comes up to me, and she's probably in her 70s. And she's just started. I saw a woman teaching her how to swim. I swim, and she's out there in the lap pool. And she comes up and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you have such a good stroke. How do you do that?" So I just said, the two things that I've learned that are really important is lift your arm up and scrape it across the water and then pull. And I said, and you're not pulling. What you're doing is you're moving water. How efficiently you move water. So I don't think about moving Rick Dancer. I think about moving water. And she thanks me, and I'm looking at her going, "Good for you."
Yeah.
In your 70s. And you're starting a new thing, and this whole swimming, and you're asking questions because you want to learn. And I think that is the most powerful elixir for me as another person working out, because I see that and I'm going, man, she's doing this. Yeah, I got to keep going because,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of it. Like we both go to Capital City, and we see our Silver Society in there all the time. And that's the thing that is more important than necessarily what they're doing. Just the fact that they're at that age and they're moving still. They choose, but they have no reason to come there. I mean, they're in their 70s, 80s, but they want a better quality of life. And that is something that allows them to have it. Just simple everyday movement is more powerful than being stagnant.
Yeah, I've read some studies recently, and they said that if you just go out, like if I'm at work and I'm having a creative block and I can't do anything, they said take a 10-minute walk, and they have actual proof, scientific proof that your mind will kick back in and your creativity soar once you get back from that walk and you're doing it. It's just getting out and doing, and it's not like, you and I would probably feel like, well, I need to go do a couple-mile run or something, but they said the research really shows it's just moving.
Yeah. Move the blood circulation is going to get to, because the blood goes through your brain too. So the better you can circulate it, the more, receptive your brain is to it, the more powerful it's going to feel in that moment. So it's not because it is an organ. It needs to be fueled by the blood too. And then oxygenated blood from the exercises helps move it up there. So yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's one of the things that is so important with this is like making sure that you understand the body as a whole and not just not just the surface level. So
and when you're doing stuff, what is the biggest kind of misconception do you think that people have about working out when they're starting out?
The biggest misconception is that they think they need to look good to start. I'm not ready to go to the gym. I'm not in good enough shape to go into the gym. That is one thing that I've heard so many times is, can I just work out at home because I'm not comfortable stepping into a gym yet because of the way I look?
So when you have clients, how do you work with them? Online? Do you work with them at home?
I do a combination of everything. I do mostly online currently, but I've done in person in the past. I've done traveling to clients before, and I'm not opposed to it. I just know that in person for me is dangerous for those that I train online, because when I'm doing it in person, it's warm and it stokes my fire. And then they get to receive that fire through their training programs online. So they can always tell when I've got a new client because everything gets turned up another notch.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
you like that interaction then?
Oh, absolutely. Personal training is personal.
Right.
People forget that aspect of it. Like, you're training a person. No, it's personal. You are in a relationship with your client. So, and my thing is that I want wins for my clients more than they do sometimes.
Do you find that the biggest people ask me, so where does most of your workout happen? And James, I always tell them it's like the kitchen. You know, it's like when it's it's how you eat. I mean, understanding how you eat. And I think there's a lot of people that go, I worked at a TV station, and I remember my wife would make like a chocolate chip cookie. I knew she'd make them at home and I'd have them at night. And so they'd have a birthday cake, and they get these things from one of those gross, supermarkets, with Crisco, frosting on them. And I sit there and look at it, and I say, no, I don't want any. I'm fine. And they go, why you never eat the dessert? And I go, no, I eat dessert, but I know what my wife made at home, and I know it has natural ingredients in it, and I'm not putting that. And so you kind of, I don't sit and count my calories, but I know what I'm putting in and what I'm using. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, with food, people either overthink it or they underthink it. They can't. You have to have a healthy relationship with food, because you can enjoy fries or pizza, but the problem with it is people use it as a comfort food. And I use a phrase that, comfort breeds complacency. In the Marine Corps, we have a saying that complacency kills. So basically, you're adding it up to comfort kills, because it leads to a sedentary lifestyle. You don't challenge yourself. You don't push yourself. And that starts with just, I'm sad. I think I want to have cookies or ice cream tonight. And then, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the dopamine hit that I got from this ice cream. So I'm going to have some more. Well, now they're no longer getting that dopamine hit, but they're still chasing it. So they keep eating the ice cream.
So when people come to you, so are you making a program for them then, like an exercise and a meal plan and all that kind of stuff? So
the state of Montana, I cannot make a meal plan. I can't prescribe meal plans. I can't prescribe calories or macros or anything like that. I am not a registered dietitian. I am certified in nutrition. However, with the state of Montana, I cannot prescribe anything. I can make recommendations, suggestions on, if I was your size and your frame, this is what I would do. So I can do workarounds, but I can't actually write out, here's what you need to eat, when you need to eat it, and how much of it you need to eat.
So do you find that a lot of people don't eat enough?
Yes. They don't eat enough, but they snack more than they realize.
Okay, so explain that.
So people will say, well, I didn't eat that much. And then I was like, well, what did you eat? Like, I had this bag of almonds. Okay. What are they, regular, unsalted? How many servings are in there? How much fat's in there? I had this string cheese, or I had this juice, or this thing. They just don't eat full meals. They just snack throughout the day. And it's trending right now on all social media, the difference between snacking all day versus balanced meals. So, I mean, there was a video that showed a double quarter pounder meal from McDonald's and how many calories were in that, and almost a day and a half's worth of calories of healthy eating.
Yeah. I mean, if sometimes when I was on vacation, um, I was in a restaurant, and it was a larger kind of restaurant, and they
Mhm.
had the calories listed out on the food. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that McKinsey pizza place does
Ye-
that here in
Yes, yes.
Montana. And you look and you're going, shit,
Yeah.
I'm not eating that. I mean,
So,
plus I think too many people eat out too much because, you can
yes.
make a hamburger at home. My wife can make a hamburger with a patty like that thick. And then, a lot of times what I'll do is I only eat the bottom bun. I don't eat the top bun. And then
Mhm.
I'll have it on a salad or something.
Yeah.
And you can make French fries and cook them in the heat, the little, what are they, the little,
Air fryers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can cut up a potato and put it in there. You could still have that food, but you're just not doing the processed food, because the processed food, isn't that the worst?
That's where I mean, I don't like the grease factor, the total fat that doesn't get calculated into it. What it's cooked in is more important than what you're actually cooking. So if you can control that environment, like I like a good steak, but I want eat one out in town.
Right.
And first of all, they don't know how to cook steak here at any of the restaurants around us, just to be
And
honest. So
they cook it in oils and stuff that you don't
yeah,
need.
yeah. So and there's a whole lot of unknowns with that kind of stuff. So yeah, eating out is nice every once in a while, but when you have become accustomed to cooking a certain way and certain flavors, then it's just like, now I'm more disappointed and I'm still hungry.
So the other thing I've been noticing and reading about, because I've been trying to, I think it's kind of, some people think this is weird, but I've read as you get older, you bulk up with muscle. You don't want to get fat, but you want
No.
to bulk up with muscle. So I've been doing a little creatine, which
Yeah.
really helped me. And then I've been like protein, like for my size, I was 178, I'm now 190.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I got to eat about 190 grams of protein a
Just,
day.
just to maintain where you're at. So, I
Yeah.
mean, so protein is our most important macronutrient when it comes to both muscle preservation, muscle building, and also in fat loss.
Okay, so explain to people how you lose fat with protein.
So protein helps preserve lean muscle tissue. And it is also got a higher, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the phrase, but it also has a satiating effect, which makes you feel fuller longer, which helps reduce the amount of cravings you have and the amount that you want to eat. So it's preserving your muscle mass, and it's also limiting cravings and unnecessary meals and snacking because of the satiety value of it. And then on top of that, all of it's a different blend of the amino acids that your DNA needs to stay intact. So, and then when we're burning fat or when we're looking to lose weight, our first source that we burn through is going to be our carbohydrates. So that's why people are like, I don't want to do carbs. Well, they don't understand that's what adds to your energy levels. So there's a whole bunch of fad diets that go through no carb, low carb. And there's actually more scientific data that just came out. I think it was PubMed that just did it, that shows eating a majority of your daily value of carbs at bedtime, or not at bedtime, at dinner time, has been shown to more efficient in losing weight, and not just weight, but visceral belly fats.
So eat your carbs at night.
That's according to the latest study that I just read from PubMed. Yeah.
Huh.
So carbs take a lot more energy to break down to turn into our glycogen storage, which is what we do. And so when you're eating more of that and doing that at night, then you're going to start off the next morning with your fast digesting carbs. At least for me, that's how I do it. You're starting glycogenesis all over again. So you're already turning your body into a machine before you start doing it.
Now, what are fast carbs?
Fast carbs are your simple carbohydrates, your monosaccharides, your simple sugars and stuff like that. So like white bread is a fast digesting carb. Donuts, the more sugar in it, the faster it's going to digest. So you'll see, like, I know it's weird how that works, isn't it?
No, I'm interested. This is like, I think
There's a pretty prolific bodybuilder who his go-to meal before he even goes to the gym is a donut
Huh.
because it's got fast digesting carbohydrates in it that help that glycogenesis, which are the energy production. So and then after you burn through all those carbs that you have in your body, the next storage that your body's going to start using is fats.
And so then is it true also, because I've read that if you're not eating enough protein, that your body's going to, if you're, especially if you're working out and really trying to build some muscle,
Mhm.
that your body's going to start eating
Yep.
you're just going to start eating the lean muscle you're building. It starts
Yep.
eating it up. So it's like for me, I bet for 15 or 20 years, I stayed 178.
Mhm.
I couldn't lose. Well, I wasn't trying to lose, but I couldn't gain. And I'm kind of a skinny guy anyway. So
Yeah.
it was really hard for me to gain. And with the creatine did help, but
Yeah.
putting that in, all of a sudden it was like, I'm drinking more water, but I'm up to, 190. And I'm like my wife's going, dang, you look kind of buff,
Yeah.
and I always look lean and muscly, but it's like,
Yeah.
now it's like, I start going, that's kind of nice, but you have to get used to the little bit because you
Well,
have to gain weight to gain weight.
yeah. So yeah, our bodies are either in one of two phases. They're either in an anabolic phase or catabolic. And catabolic is what you just described. You're not eating enough protein. So your body is trying to take storage, get that energy from somewhere. So yeah, it starts eating at your lean muscle tissues. So that's why our protein intake is the most important because it preserves our muscle tissue and also is the last one to be burned. Excuse
And,
me. And then also with that creatine, that helps with water retention and it helps force the water back into the muscle belly itself, the muscle fibers themselves to make them feel fuller and to be able to retain that water as well.
wow. Okay. So go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, just so what you were describing is catabolic. So,
Okay. So when you're working with somebody, what does this do for you? How does it kind of, with your history and what you've gone through and stuff, you probably see people at a very vulnerable place in their life because
I
it's
do.
almost like being naked, you know, in front of people is because, I always admire the heavier people that come into the gym because I
Mhm.
think, dang, I have an easy time walking in here because one, I've done this for, 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's I understand there's a whole different vibe at a gym. But to walk into that, I mean, I see people and I love that. That encourages me. And I hope that there's people out there listening that hear that is like when you're the person going in, the rest of us are cheering for you. We're just all going, wow, I mean, look
Mhm.
at you. There's a guy that walks in and he can hardly walk and he comes in that gym every single day and he's doing his thing.
Yeah. So when those honestly are some of my favorite clients to work with, not the, your the overweight slash obese slash the insecure people.
Right.
Those ones are the best ones and most rewarding people because there's a moment in every session where you're working with a client and something clicks. It is visual on their facial expression that it makes sense and they get it. And that is one of the most rewarding things that I've ever had happen. So, but yeah, those like you said, the underdogs are. I'm a sucker for an underdog story, and every single time I have a client like that, they always feel like I get I'm sorry, I'm wasting your time. I'm not doing everything. He says like, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm not asking for anything that I wouldn't do for myself, but don't apologize. This is a journey. It's not a sprint. And just posted about it. It's like, it's not about how you get there. I mean, it's not about what's at the end of the tunnel, but it's about the experiences you learn while you're getting to that spot. And it's
So
really,
So what is it about you and your story that makes you come alive when you see other people finding answers?
so mine, I grew up very poor. I grew up without having healthy people in my life. I'm the only one in my family that's not obese. Most of my dad's side is all type 2 diabetics. My mom's side is just not everyone on my mom's side is, but I come from a family of obese people, and I know that that's what my genetics predisposed me to. I'm
Right.
supposed to be overweight. I'm not supposed to be able to been down and tie my own shoes.
Right.
So, and seeing people that have that same like mind, that mental state, like, oh, this is just how it is. No, it's not. That is not how it is. And it doesn't have to be that way. I don't believe in the phrase of play the hand you dealt.
Right.
So I don't know if you use profanity on here or not. So I'm going to restrain from how
you can say fuck or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, I just want to say that's how I am. Like, oh, this is just the hand I was dealt. Now, fuck that. Get a redeal. You're entitled to that. Like, you don't have to accept this for what it is. And when people understand, like, that's a real thing you can actually do. It's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be poor. I'm supposed to be, overweight. I'm not supposed to have, own a home or anything like that. That's not it's not how I was set up for.
So are you proud of yourself?
Not yet.
What do you mean?
Well, if I'm proud of myself, then that means I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and I haven't.
What do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
I don't want anything specifically for myself. I'm about building a bigger legacy for those that are predisposed to that kind of lifestyle. So I'm taking them
that think they are. Because see, my story, mine's the same thing. My mom was huge. I have 3 sisters, and one of them is a twin, and they all struggle with their weight.
Yeah.
I had a dad who had a big old belly. Had he had his first quadruple bypass when he was 50, and I was like in my 20s, early 20s. And that's when I took the cigarettes, I threw them away, and I started working out. And my wife and I have been crazy since then. And it's like, then I saw him a second time on the table. And, my dad would come down to visit when I lived in Oregon, and he'd come down and we'd go to breakfast, and I'd order oatmeal, and he'd have biscuits and gravy. And I'm going, Dad, is that on your cardiac, diet? And he'd go, oh, I don't do this very often. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I bet you do that more often than you really think. And so then you see that lifestyle, and to break away from that and go, so people think, well, you're crazy, you're doing this. Well, I have a family history, and all my cholesterol, everything, it's right where it's supposed to be. Blood pressure, all that stuff, because it's, and it doesn't take that long for people to do it either. Don't you think? I mean, if people started, you're 55 years old, you're overweight, and you think, oh, whatever. No, you can change. I mean, you can change your whole world.
Yeah. And it's not as hard as people think it is. It's really not.
It's consistent. You think it's consistency? Is that really the key? Is consistency? Or, I mean, you can't depend on motivation, because
no, absolutely
there's a lot of days I'm not motivated. I walk in the gym and I think, okay, you know what? Just do it. I mean, Nike had it right. Just do it. Shut up and do it.
100% they did. And it's one of those things that it is consistency, but it's also, there's going to be some things that you're going to have to get rid of. And that might be the hard part, but the easiest part of this whole journey is the part that happens at the gym.
Right.
That is literally the easiest part of this. Sometimes the hardest part about the gym is driving there.
Yeah.
But once you get inside and you start, then that's easy.
So do you have kids?
I do. I have 6.
How old are you?
I am 37 with 6 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a very active lifestyle. I do personally. Well, the VA helped me with that about 7 years ago. So
okay, so that part of well, the activity's still there. It's just that you're not
producing.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but between doing the training, I also work security. I also work at a print shop, do it for an apparel company, on top of being a full-time dad. So, and most of the cooking and cleaning.
Really?
You have
a partner, a wife, or?
Yes. So it's she's a full-time nurse though.
Okay.
And so she is she works in specialty care. So her hours are longer than most. She usually puts in about 40, closer to 50 hours over 4 days as a nurse. So she worked. I'm sorry.
You said when we were opening up, one of the things you said that I want to dig into a little bit is you said part of this is very spiritual too. So tell me about that spiritual part of your
okay. So spiritual in a sense that And people think spiritual, they think automatically religion.
Right.
And that's not where this is. Yes, religion and my faith is a big part of who I am, but it's not what I preach to others.
So explain that. I want to hear that.
So spiritual. So I'm wearing my mala right now, which is part of that spiritual part.
Okay.
The mindfulness.
And what is that from? What?
This mala?
Yeah.
So it's actually from a Buddhist / Hindu religion, but and that's how you apply it to your life is not directly related to that.
Okay.
So it's a mindfulness piece. It's a gratitude. It's a grounding technique for me a lot of the times. So I take it and I'll use it to center myself. So I'm not a yogi. I'm not a Hindu or anything like that. But I take practices from that because I believe in more of a holistic picture,
right?
Versus just I'm stuck here,
right?
Like I can't do anything on my own.
I studied Christianity through Judaism, which is really your Hebrew, and they wear tzitzit, these little fringe around their waist.
Yeah,
and they do that. I think part of the reason what I've understood, and if there's Jews in our audience, they can change, tell me I'm wrong if they want. But it's you have it around your waist so you feel it. And that reminds you that God loves you and that it centers you. So you have something physical, but, and I think people don't do that enough. I remember back, in Old Testament, like Abraham, God, when something changed, like what you and I should do. And I did do this. One time I went to counseling when I was younger, and the day that something profound changed the way I thought about myself, the person counseling me, she said, go home and take rocks and build a little altar and just put it in your yard where you drive in the driveway. So when you come in, you see that every day and you go, nope, that's done. I already changed that. And I think we don't do enough of that in America. Other countries, that's very big is reminders, because we get so busy, that we don't think about stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that is why I wear this so much, because it is significant to something. So I went through a breathwork class with holotropic breathing. And if you've ever had the chance to, I would highly suggest doing a breathwork. It is intense, to say the least. It's very.
You do that.
So Bonnie Schroeder was up here for a retreat that we did over Father's Day weekend last year, and that was my first experience with it. I have a good friend of mine who hosts him at his private gym here in Helena. I'm not trying to promote anything, but
if you have one, would you now that we know each other, I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, so he's got one coming up in August. With the gentleman's name he did the last one was Brandon. But we also have another retreat thing. So breathwork is something that sounds hippie, granola, crunchy, whatever phrase you want to use with it. But
I lived in Eugene, Oregon for 30 years.
Yeah,
you can't surprise me with a hippie.
Yeah, so I just that's how I went into it. This is just nonsense. Like, I know how to breathe. But when you take something that's so simple and is done subconsciously by the body to keep you alive and apply effort and focus on it, it is. I mean, there was grown men that I've never met in there before sobbing because it was so healing for them.
Right.
Like it was able to reach back into trauma they had tried to shove away for years and brought it to the surface for them to deal with.
So James, when I did it, my wife and I did a thing. We used to do a travel show for an outdoor van company, and they took us to Big Sur to do deep diving. And so the guy beforehand, I swim. So I have I didn't know this, but I've discovered that I have really good breath control. And so he said, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to hold your breath, but I don't want you to, he goes, he kind of showed me how to get into it, how to breathe. He goes, and then when you're done, I just want you, every time you think you need to take a breath, just push out a little more air and a little more air. I sat there for 3.5 minutes and didn't take a breath. And he was looking at me and I was real calm, just closing my eyes. And he said, I'll tap you, when it's every 30 seconds. And he would just tap my finger, and I'm sitting there. I didn't know how long it was, but then when I was done, he goes, God, you went 3.5 minutes And I said, "Oh my God," I said, "It's got to be swimming and all
Yeah.
that stuff." But it was so amazing because I think I had so much more power than I thought I did by him.
Hmm.
That he told me what to do and how to think about it and to control that. And it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And that's another thing that the breathing really helps with is when you do cold plunging.
Okay, that's the
Getting,
next thing I wanted to ask you about.
I,
So okay, so
I felt myself come like that. You were just talking about that and the 3.5 minutes. Um, that's the most important part of that because people will get into that cold water and they'll immediately have that gasp reflex, like, oh, that's cold. But that's that mental part of, I'm actually reading Andy Frisella's mental toughness book right now, but getting over that fear of it
yeah.
is going to be the most important thing because once you get in there and your breathing is under control, you don't realize how quick 3 minutes goes by. And people
Well,
are like, oh, it's lasts forever. No, it really doesn't.
I had a friend who did training in Oregon, and he came online. He goes, "Bring your video camera and let's go out and do this in the McKenzie River, which is
Mhm.
49 degrees in the winter." And we went out there and did that, and it was not as half as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No.
The worst was the anticipation of doing it.
Mhm.
And then
Yep.
once we got in there, he would have me do like what you're saying, breathe, breathe. And I mean, by the end, we were, da, 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 da,
Yeah, of course.
but we were there for like 5 minutes, and you get out and you feel what I think people don't understand is for people that work out, we always have a lot of pain, little pains and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Nothing. I mean, the whole
No.
day I had nothing. Now tell me how do you use heat like
And
sauna versus cold and that kind of stuff?
like exposure therapy. It's crazy that America's just now coming, like it's just
The
now
rest of
becoming
the world
popular.
does this, huh?
It's part of the curriculum in Eastern European countries. They've
It's the
literally,
culture.
yes, and it is the fact that it can't be backed by a prescription. The fact that it's not something that
Oh, you
there's
mean it
not
doesn't have Pfizer on the you don't have to buy your tank from Pfizer?
exactly, and you don't have to buy anything. I mean, really, I mean, if you have a cold shower, you could take that, and then you'll put a towel under the door and turn it all the way to the hot. You can turn it into a wet room. So it's literally getting over an excuse of why you can't do something because it's not that hard to find cold water around us.
Now, why so people that are listening or watching, why is it so therapeutic for people? The heat and then the cold or the cold and the heat or whatever.
Well, it's got immuno response capabilities, so it helps build the immune system on a scientific. As far as scientific, I know for me what it does for me. My mental health and my mental productivity go through the roof. Like I can accomplish so much more through the day if I start my day with that. And we live in Montana. Just go outside and put my feet in the cold for 45 seconds in the snow, and then it's almost the same dopamine rush that you get from that. So, um, as far as like the health benefits, haven't really looked into those too much, only because I know the the value that I get from it, and that's enough for me. So
Right.
but like I said, doing exposure is cold to heat is immunobuilding.
So what
Um,
I do is I'll sit in the sauna at the gym or the steam room
mhm.
and then get really, really hot. And then I just go take a really cold shower. And
Yep.
I'll tell you, I feel so much better. And people, like you said, you don't have to. I mean, the hot part would be a little harder because you have to, steam up your bathroom.
Yeah,
But you can't even just do the cold part, and you're going to get that
exactly.
feeling from it, and it really does. And like I mean, like you're saying, it invigorates you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I start slow. When I get in there and like even after being in the steam room, I'll just
Yeah.
turn it on cool, and then
Hmm.
I just slowly, take my shower and just slowly keep moving it down, 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 down till it's cold, and then I just force myself to stand there.
Yeah. I'll
And
tell you what, cold showers are way worse than plunging. Personally,
I think so too.
I would rather just go full body into it versus standing there and then turning in the water to keep the cold going everywhere. I mean, they do work in a crunch, but I'm picking the plunging every time.
Where do you plunge?
I'll go. I have a friend that I'll do it at his house. I'll go out to the lake and do it right now, do a creek bed. Like, and so if I can't make it out there, I go and put my feet in the snow.
Okay,
Like,
so sometime what we should do is I'll take my video camera and go show people how to do the hot and cold plunge.
yes,
That'd be fun.
yes, I agree. So I actually just invested into an ice plunge, a portable ice plunge at home. I got off Amazon for like $80. So
Did you seriously?
yeah, so
I want one. I really do want one.
so it's nothing fancy, and it doesn't need to be, because it's literally, well, how are you going to keep it cold in the summertime? Well, I don't have to worry about during summertime, because I'll just go to the lake, which is 40 degrees until about mid-July. So, but literally, I did that yesterday, and I was like, this needs to be something at home I do every day, instead of just like, I had a massage yesterday and it really started working the endorphins. And then I went and got in the water and I was like, okay.
So I need you to send me the name of your massage therapist, because I need somebody. I mean,
yes.
I used to go
I did hers yesterday, and I've had two of them here in town. One of them was fairly new, and the other one seemed like she's a little bit more seasoned. So, one of them it feels like she is got her elbow and is standing on top of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's the spot.
I had a guy back in Oregon named Stacy, and he was a former concrete worker, and he had these little short dude, had these hands that was just like thick, like that. And he'd get on, oh my God. And I'd lay there and he goes, do you want, you want this really difficult? And I go, yeah. So he'd do it. And I'd be sitting there going, ow, ow. And he goes, you're a fucking baby. Shut up. And I'm going, he goes, I'm not going to stop. I go, no, I don't want you to stop this. And so one time it was really funny. The door, a new client, I heard somebody walk in outside the door and in there, and he's squeezing me. He's really hurting me. So I'm in there moaning. I'm going, ow, oh, Stacy. And he's looking at me, he goes, what are you doing? I go, oh my God, that hurt. Oh, that hurts so bad. And I heard the door out there. I walked out. Here's this girl standing there. I go, hey, thanks, Stacy. That was worth every minute of it. He's going, fuck you.
So, yeah, I like that good pleasure. It's almost,
because you and I work out really hard, it hurts. And I want that muscle. And I think that's what people don't understand about working out is when you get to when you work and do it in a gym with a group of people, you're encouraged by other people because you're seeing them work out hard. You know what I mean? And I go to classes, the HIIT classes and stuff. And it's like, I'm one of like 5 dudes in there and all the rest are women. And I saw your kid.
He was training. So they knew. So, but it's just like he's trying to be respectful.
So tell me this: what makes you happy?
My kids. Number one, being a dad is literally the best job in the world. The pay sucks. The pay is shit.
And there's not a lot of benefits either.
The rewards at the end of it will be. That's how, if I can produce good offspring and they go into the world and make it a better place, then that is the benefit of that.
So does that, being an at-home dad, there's a ton of that now. And so my wife was an at-home mom. Do you see a respect from people or a disrespect?
Both, I think. It's a little bit more confusing. So, because like I said, she works Monday through Thursday. I work Friday through Monday. So I don't know. And they're in school age right now. So it's not really so much of that. And,
well, I think because my wife used to get people say, oh, so you don't have to work.
Yeah.
You're like,
oh, it is work.
No, this is like the hardest job. I would rather go punch in a clock for 8 hours, because you're dealing with it all the time. And I think I believe there's a resurgence of, even though more people your age aren't having kids.
Yeah.
I think there's a resurgence of people that do have kids are saying, I can't afford to put them with the babysitter at the time. And 2, I don't want to. And maybe not affording to is causing us to have to rethink how we raise our kids,
Yeah. Yeah. And because I was hiring a babysitter for $15 an hour when I was working at a different gym, and I was making $14 an hour.
Yeah, it's
I was
it.
like, this is not making any sense. Like I
I,
am losing money on work. So I was like, she was already doing nursing school, working as a nurse at the time. So I was like, I'm just going to go online. Like this is what the transition is right now.
right.
So
So
it was,
what do you tell your kids about fitness? You know,
um, so they see it. I've got my 16-year-old who wants to go to the gym with me. I've got my 7-year-old daughter who will go out there with kettlebells in the driveway and she'll start doing a swing or a squat and then she'll stop and she'll do a sprint. So they see it and they imitate it.
it's interesting, James. Is my boys are 36 and 33,
Mhm.
and they used to watch us, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, you guys are so obsessed with this," and they didn't do anything. And it's
Mhm.
funny because now my son's got a job where he's not on his feet a lot. He was gaining teeny bit of weight, and so he
Mhm.
joined a gym and is getting real regular with it. Because and then my younger son just joined a gym and is getting real regular with it. And I think it's like it's kind of like your faith or
Mhm.
some of the things you tell people, they do come back to your kids later.
Yeah.
And if there's a point when they're going to go, whatever, I'm doing this. But I think if you instill it when they're young,
Mhm.
because I don't want my kids to grow up and maybe going to their heart surgeon when I'm in
Mhm.
my 80s and watching my kids have heart surgery.
Yeah,
That's not what I want for my family.
exactly. So it's funny that you bring that up because I I get called vain in my family because I'm the only one who stays in shape.
Right.
So like, oh, you're just so vain. You just want this pretty boy look all the time. You just worry about this, that, and the other. It's like, no, that's not what it really is.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think people
and I
understand
don't,
that.
and my kids don't see it that way, and that's what's important. So they don't see it as, oh, dad's just trying to be big and muscles and scary and everything like that. No, that's not what it is. Because I want to be around for you as long as I possibly can.
Right. But I think that's interesting too, is there is a fine line, I guess, between being obsessed with how you look. And we all get
Yeah.
that way. Maybe once in a while we'll go, oh God, you see this, and you go, oh, but as you get older, it's kind of like, I just want to be able to, on the weekends, my wife and I, we got mountain bikes and we'll go on a 30-mile ride up into the Elkhorns
Yeah.
and with only a 45 pistol and a can of bear spray.
Yep.
And we see nobody, and I want to be able to do that. If I got lost and if I died in the woods somewhere, that'd be heaven. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to die in town.
No. Have you done the beaten path yet?
No.
It is a 3-day hike over in the Aberooskies. It is one of the prettiest ones. I think it's 27, 29 miles in total. So
And how many days? 3 days?
3 days, yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah, it is so beautiful. And that's one of those things that like you don't have cell service.
Right.
Nobody's gonna, I mean, like you said, if so that's all you take enough food for those 3 days. And so I did that trip in 2017, 18, I think. And I have been wanting to do it again, but now that I'm more mentally prepared for it, it would be a lot more enjoyable.
So do you think you spent a lot of your life being misunderstood?
Um, I used to think that, but now I don't care.
Okay. Explain.
Like, so my buddy Matt Vincent is been very vocal about you get to choose who has a vote in your life. And that's just like, and that's kind of like saying, I don't care what you think. Your vote does not matter to me.
Right.
Your opinion doesn't matter to me. So my self-esteem is not based on other people's opinions of me anymore. It used to be. I used to be insecure about that and used to be seeking approval and external validation and those things. But it's not who I am at my core. So I don't care.
I had my teacher from the HIT class from Capitol today.
Mhm.
She goes, I follow you, and oh my God, I can't believe some of the things people say to you. And she goes, and then what my husband and I, we sit back and wait and go, how's he going to respond? And I throw something out because it's sport,
Yeah.
and I throw this out. And then she goes, I said, you know what I learned is a friend of mine said one day, Rick, it's none of your business what other people think of you.
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And I got a
Mhm.
little bit of a hard edge like you do, where, life wasn't always perfect. And I think people look at us and they think, oh yeah, you always had everything together and stuff. No, I worked for everything I got.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I still got drama in my world, and depression is a reality for me.
Mhm.
And that's why I do the
Oh,
endorphin thing with the
yeah.
gym.
Like I said, the anxiety part is still very real because this is, I don't know if I've mentioned this or not. This is the first podcast I've ever done. So,
But because you know
I
what,
was,
because you're a real person, and
yeah.
so you're just letting yourself do what you do.
So I started off like you'll be able to see, I'm sure on playback, you'll see how nervous it was at first. And then I was like, you know what? This is me and this is my passion. So it should not cause me anxiety because this is what I do. It's what I love.
Right. I'm pretty honest with people, but I like who you are. I
I,
think
I
I want to do the cold plunge thing. We got to do
yeah.
this, and
So
and
we
I
can,
and I'll take you to lunch or something when I'm in town. And I mean, I'd love to
yeah,
hang out a little bit. I think it would be fun to see what you're all about.
I will shoot you my number on IG after this. And
Okay.
yeah, because I think it's a lot of fun. And I'll have to let you know about the breathwork class have coming up if you want to, if you're interested in that, because it is.
For me and my wife, I think what I love about us, I mean, if you could say stuff like that, like what I really like about us is that, we hear something and go, let's go do that.
Yes,
People
that's
go,
what life is about. That's
it's like, what are
living.
you doing now? And we're going, oh, we heard about this, because when we did the deep dive thing, we
Mhm.
were scared shitless. I mean, we're in the Pacific Ocean, and they put us in, we got wetsuits on, but
Yeah.
those aren't really. You put that on, and you feel like, I think I'd rather be just nothing.
Yes, you feel
So,
super good.
and then they took us we're on rocks. There's no beach. We're not walking out on a beach. We're on
Mm.
rocks. They said the waves come in, and when one big one comes in, we'll tell you when to go, and you just let go and you let it sweep you out there. And you're going, sweep me out there?
Just
That doesn't sound good.
be
And
one with the sea.
coming in, we got banged up like crazy because you have to
Mhm.
time it and you're floating in. But I'll tell you what, James, that's one of those moments my wife and I will look at each other and go, when one of us is on our deathbed, we're going to go, okay, remind me of all the things we did that were so crazy,
Yeah.
And it's going to be those things that you're going to remember, not how many times I went to the gym or,
No,
all that stuff.
that building.
It's the people you meet when you take a risk and go do something that's, just out of, we'll ride our bikes up in the mountains, and you see people in sidecars. They come by and they go, what the fuck are you doing? And we said, it's called riding a bike.
Yeah.
And in Townsend where we live, people actually call us the bike riders.
So yeah, that like you brought that up. And that's really what life's all about, is not how much money's in your bank account at the end of the day, but how much experience and how much of life you enjoyed versus being stressed out about it. And like you said, you know what? Let's go try this.
Yeah.
Because why not? Like,
right. What's it going to, I always say, because I had cancer like in 2010. And I knew it wasn't going to kill me, but and I said, and that's kind of always been my motto. Well, it's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
And when the final thing happens that does, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to really know.
Exactly.
What I mean? It's kind of like, so nothing's going to kill me. And when it does, I'm not going to know anyway. So
I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not alive to be
I always
upset.
find that really funny when people say, oh, grandpa's looking down. No, he's dead.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing when you can just realize that life is meant to be enjoyed versus being stressed over.
Right.
And giving that power.
So how do people get a hold of you? The Tatted Fitness Junkie.
Yes, I am only on Instagram currently. And so that's where I'm at. You can see a lot of my stuff on there. I've got some client transformations on there as well, from online training and challenges. So I do have challenges out for anybody who is currently looking for a trainer. You have to pass a challenge before I will take you on as a client.
I saw that. I went and checked you out. I was checking out what you were doing. So and I would say for people that, like, if you're afraid to go in the gym, I mean, that's why it's kind of nice to have a personal trainer, because somebody, who can. There's things you can do at home to get you ready, but don't wait till you lose that 5 pounds because that's
No,
ridiculous.
no. And the beauty
get
of
him in that mood.
Yep. And the beauty of the challenge is it's all calisthenics type movements, plyometric stuff. It's all stuff that you can do at home. So that way, if you don't have access to a gym or you want to do it at a gym, you can. So it's not really a whole lot of machinery or stuff like that. Like I'm not having people do chest flies on this. It's a lot more. It's a mentally tough challenge.
Right.
So,
and I think what I'm learning from those HIIT classes is, I mean, this is kind of the new thing going back to the old thing. You know, remember being in school, you did push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, all that stuff, just running in place. If you get a watch that measures like an Apple Watch and watch what your heart rate is, you know, I know what doesn't get my heart rate up and I know what does. And just running in place and jumping jacks and jump rope. I mean, it's all that. If people just took that on, and that's what a lot of people are doing at the gym, you know, just squats. You don't need weight. You know, I mean, weight's good for guys like you and me who are trying to put some muscle on, but for somebody trying to get limber and just get in shape, man, just do some squats like that.
So yes, and I am also very much into the functionality part of this and the longevity of it as well. For my clients, maybe more so than myself because I'm more still wanting to put weight on as well. But being able to be mobile through all this as well is just as important because the healthier the joints, the longer you can keep your own.
Yeah.
Until you have to go to aftermarket parts.
Yeah. So, I need shoulder surgery, but
I do not recommend it. I've already had 4.
Oh, I keep putting it off and I go, no, it's not because we're going to go to Europe in the fall. And so maybe next winter.
I wish I would have avoided it. So like I said, I've had 3 on my left shoulder already.
Okay. Well, you and I are going to talk.
Yeah. So I appreciate it.
So you guys, this is my new friend, James.
Jim is my dad.
James. You're going to see James and Rick doing some weird shit now.
Yes. It's going to be a blast. So I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I'll shoot you my number after this.
Okay.
And then we'll link up soon. Still got snow on the ground, though.
The Tatis Fitness Junkie on Instagram. You guys can see right there. James, thank you so much, man.
All right. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome, buddy.
All right, take care.
Okay. So that's how it works. You guys, so seriously, don't let fitness kind of scare you because it's I'll tell you, once you start doing it and it gets, a month or 2 into that, it takes a little bit. It becomes part of your routine and you kind of gets obsessive and then you feel bad if you don't do it. So I highly recommend it and look him up if you're you could be anywhere because the internet means you don't have to have somebody in your own hometown to do it. I'm Rick Dancer. Share this on your page because there's other people out there that may want to know the same thing. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.